Hello and welcome in. I am MissKinghorn and we are back here in The Sims 4 and today we are building for the Global Gardens Build Challenge by Ninnster. And you might have guessed by the thumbnail, we are working on an English rose manor where we are to construct an elegant estate with ivory covered brick walls, manicured rose gardens, wrought iron gazebos and a grand tea room, bringing timeless English countryside charm to The Sims. Now with this we can use any lot type, any budget, any lot size and any packs as long as we have no CC, and I would definitely check out the hashtag on the screen for all of the amazing builds for this, and the tours are going to be on their Twitch channel on the 4th of May, so definitely go and give them a follow and come and have a look at the tours. But for now, let's get started on this. So I love my old buildings, and this was right up kind of my alley of what I really wanted to build, and yeah, I think I did a good job on here. So this lot is on a 30 by 30 lot in Ravenwood. It's actually on the Crows Passing neighbourhood, which is like the town centre kind of thing, but it's like the elevated one, slightly away from them, and I thought this would be a perfect place for a nice kind of old house to fit in here. It's not quite as big as a manor normally is. This is quite a small house, I guess you could probably say, on this sort of lot here, but we kind of decorate it and we grand it up a little bit in here. So we have this sort of front area that you can see I'm working on using a few debug places, so the vehicles, also the little walls and some of the hedges that I just thought elevated all of this up and just created a really nice front entrance little space in there, because I thought for something like this you would have somewhere to park the cars, to kind of get out, to be a little bit more grand and inviting and welcoming in there. But now we are going to get into actually building the house shell, and with this, because I really wanted the kind of Georgian kind of aesthetic, everything is kind of mirrored, so left and right and front and back everything is pretty much the same. We do have the two little pop outs and they are actually also the same size. One of them we have done as kind of part of the house, while the other one feels a little bit more like an extension, and we turn that into a greenhouse, kind of conservatory, kind of plant room. You'll sort of see how we do that as we go along. But with the roofing, it is very simple in there, just having some gabled roofs. I think simplicity in these older buildings is something that we kind of overlook. We kind of think of a very grand and that, but they are actually quite simple when you break them all down. And getting in this gorgeous red roof in here, and trying to get trims to work in here as well. And because obviously we've got the kind of angled sort of pop outs on the front and the back, we have used the kind of octagonal roofs, and I think they actually really work in here as well. This wallpaper, okay, why does this not come in a red? I'm just going to throw that out there. We have this swatch in so many different colours, but we don't have a red brick. I'm going to show you a picture of the actual house that we are building for, and yeah, as you can see, it's red brick. Unfortunately, I could not do that as a red brick because we don't have one in game. So as you can see by the image, we kind of have got this front little garden. We're getting some hedges and some more planting when we decorate and all of that up. And then we're sort of looking at doors and things like that, and I'm trying to recreate this picture, and I don't know if some of you can tell, I've kind of been in a bit of a funk for a little while. I've tried to do different things like with the pirate ship and all of those as a way to kind of make myself do different things to try and get myself back into gaming. I've been in a little bit of a dip, and this build, I have to be honest, actually really helped. So focusing on a recreation of a build like this was quite fun, a little bit more different than what I would normally do. Normally I kind of take images and inspiration from lots of different things, kind of mush them all together in my head and spew out something that looks completely different. This one, I think, because I had this image and I knew what I wanted, I probably just built it. And so yeah, I was able to just sort of roll with this, and obviously it helped. Normally it takes like 3 or 4 sessions to kind of make this, where I would be distracted, I would go for a walk, I wouldn't be able to do it. Sometimes I just plain didn't want to build. But obviously scheduling and trying to get the YouTube algorithm to actually like me, you kind of have to force yourself to build something, whereas this one I just sat down and I just plugged away, and this came together pretty quickly, I have to be honest in there. But as you can see, we've now got all of the windows in, we've got all the doors in, and I'm just placing sort of some chimneys and things like that in, just to give it a little bit more sort of detail. And we do also get in fireplaces inside to kind of match up. Sometimes when I see builds and then the fireplaces that are in like a completely separate place, or they have no collage, it doesn't really work for me. I like to try and get a little bit of realism going in my build as much as possible, and that is something I definitely try to do in here, but I'll let you be the judge of whether you actually like this build or not in here. So going back to sort of the front sort of landscaping in here as well, we just try and bring a few more bits and pieces in, just to kind of bring it up a little bit more interesting and a little bit more kind of detail work, which I absolutely really love in here. So as you can see, we're now trying to place a tree in front here that doesn't clip. It was quite challenging, so yeah, I think I moved this tree around several times trying to get this in, and I think I actually changed trees several times over, and yeah, it was not simple because they are such a, I think they're a different tree to what's in the picture, but they kind of take over a little bit more as you go up. And then add in wisteria, so the kind of reference we were building from has it says about ivory covered brick walls. I wasn't really feeling the ivory in here, so I kind of went for a slightly different and went for some wisteria in here, and trying to kind of mix this up together. And obviously in the picture in the house that we're building from, that has wisteria in it, so I thought that would be a little bit more in keeping rather than what we wanted in the description. But yeah, now we're going to work over on to the back section of this build, and yeah, getting some bits and pieces in here. So with this, I knew I wanted a swim pool in here, and I wanted a kind of nice entertaining space. So the family that I kind of envisioned in this head would be like a dad who goes to work, he's a professor or a lawyer, or he's got some important kind of job in there, and then the mum is, I guess you could probably say like a socialite. Like, they don't have a particular job, but they have lots of kind of events that they go to. They have lots of kind of charity events. They have people over, and I thought one of them could be for like a gardening club, or like they produce prized roses, orchids, something very expensive, very kind of posh, very, yeah, well to do. And I felt this would really work in here, and I figured they would have lots of people over for like the socialising, maybe dinner parties, that sort of thing in here, where they could entertain in the summer and maybe have friends over on something like that. So I wanted a really nice kind of garden where they can do that in here. So using the curved pools, which I don't think I've used that many. I don't tend to do pools. I think because I've been working on some smaller builds, I definitely need to focus on some bigger builds. If anyone has any ideas of what to do for bigger builds or different styles or things like that, definitely let me know in here. But trying to get this sort of back gardening, and then with the planting, I went very simple in here. I didn't want to over sort of do it. I didn't want too many roses, but we definitely get roses in this garden, but we also kind of mix them in with some other planting. And then as you can see here, I'm placing some wild roses, and we also get in some rose shrubs, which normally I wouldn't use actual plants that I have to pay for in the garden because that racks up the bill when it comes to a house like this, which is why it's probably a little bit more expensive than what I would normally do. But we only have, I think, one debug rose. It comes in 3 different colours, and it's the wild rose, the bright red ones you can see here from Cottage Living. It's great, but it's not going to work everywhere, and so we ended up having to use these other ones in here, and then I actually kind of lowered them into the ground so they look a little bit more shrub-like rather than anything else in there. But also getting out this manicured lawn in here. I only show you a little bit section of this because it is so time consuming. My hand is not steady enough to do crisp lines, so I had to kind of go backwards and forwards over the top of them trying to get them to work. But now we're going to focus on this kind of middle section in here where we have a nice little fire pit, as I say, for socialising, sitting around in the evening, maybe with a nice glass of nectar or something. And then we get out a little table in here where you can have an outdoor meal during the sort of summer months. I didn't want to do like a gazebo or like a patio or anything. I just thought a nice little table out here that maybe it folds down and gets put away for the winter or something like that. But they can definitely socialise out there and enjoy a nice meal when they want to. I didn't do a barbecue because I didn't really think that was it didn't suit this house, shall we say, or this family in here. But we also get out a few little bits of kind of toys. We can get the hopscotch out, and we also get the big blanket and picnic, just in case maybe the kids wanted to have a meal in here. So I do have 2 children in here. I have a kid, and I also have a teen. So yeah, we kind of get those in. You'll sort of see their bedrooms later on. But now let's work on the floor plan. This took forever. I'm trying in my head as I'm doing this to kind of mix old and new of what I know a Georgian house would look like without actually a floor plan, because I only had external photos of this house, but I also wanted it to fit with like modern kind of family life. So you've got kids, it's very busy. We also do have a dog, I forgot to mention that earlier on, in here. So it's very hectic, very busy, lots of people running in and out, doing lots of different things, maybe sports clubs, after school, and trying to get that in an old house is quite difficult. So I mix and match and try and do different things in here, and we kind of create an open plan kitchen diner, and you'll sort of see how we get that through later on. But you might have seen I tried to mix in some of the new tiles in with the flooring down in the entranceway. I actually changed those out to the homemade flooring from Life and Death. We use a lot of it in this build, not just the world but also in the furniture that we get in, because it just works perfectly in here. And yeah, let's start getting in this sort of hallway section down here all sorted. And what I do is I want to do an open doorway. This is something I've seen other people do, and I think I've done it once with like a single door, but yeah, I wanted to kind of make this house feel a little bit more livable. It feels quite cold, and I thought let's change that up a little bit and make it a little bit more livable and a little bit more modern and in keeping with what I really wanted in here. And as I was saying, trying to kind of mix that old and new whilst trying to be very kind of traditional in kind of the outer shell of the building, and even down to like the wallpaper and the flooring and doorways and windows and things like that. Trying to mix in those modern 21st century kind of bits and pieces, furniture, lighting, the stuff that you can easily change, whilst also keeping it very in keeping with that older kind of style. Like they've not completely smashed all of the walls and made it an open plan kind of feel, because that's just not what the house is. And as somebody who loves the kind of architecture and history and all of that. That's something that I see a lot of, and it's cringy, I have to be honest. So trying to kind of mix and match that all sort of in here really kind of works, and I like it. But do you? Let me know what you think. Do you want to see more of these kind of older sort of builds? Do you want to see bigger builds as well? I don't know. This is a 30 by 30. I could have changed it to a bigger lot. I thought about it. I honestly did. But by the time I had really thought about any of that, I kind of had gone no. That was going to be a little bit too big and a little bit too much of a change. And it basically would have meant I went back to the drawing board, and I was not really prepared to do any of that. So yeah, now getting this sort of fireplace in here, when I was actually doing the floor plan, I kind of put these all in so I knew where they were in line with the chimneys on the roof. As I said, that it then just brings that little bit of consistency all the way through. And with this sort of modern sort of sofa, and trying to get in this sort of TV nook in here, using some of the sleek bathroom items in here, just to kind of, as I say, getting in that older modern kind of mix in here. I had a lot of fun trying to kind of work this all out, and what I was thinking was like a TV kind of combo sort of area in here, where they've kind of lined it with, I think this is supposed to be concrete, and it looks very much like concrete, but I wanted something where it looked like it was cabinets or something you could just hide some little knickknacks in. You've kind of got some shelving above, and I just thought it would work really nicely in here as that sort of hint of modern coming through in the old build. And obviously lots of storage, lots of bits and pieces that we can put on here as well. And kind of using the two items, so the little shelf worked really well for like door handles, and I had actually, this was a really cool idea and something I'm definitely going to use in the future, and something I really kind of want to kind of look at and trying to get that mixture of old and new in, and how we sort of do all of those bits and pieces. I do have plans to do some bigger lots, as I was saying. I'm looking forward to actually doing them when I can sit down, when I have the time to sort of sit down and work on some bigger builds. I'm somebody who just wants to kind of build and then like do the sort of edit the video, get it out. I'm kind of very in the moment, where I feel like with the bigger builds, whether that be 64 by 64, I feel like I would need time to build maybe the external bits of it, and then at a later date come in and do the interior, or come in and do something else and over a longer period, which I just don't have time for right now in here. But this is an odd-shaped living room, and it was a bit of a challenge of how I get things in. So at one end we've kind of got the TV nook, and then at the other end we've kind of got this big chess set, and then I thought maybe the person living here is really into their kind of old school sort of music, or maybe they follow like a big celebrity or something, and they've bought some memorabilia from a tour or something, and that's why there is a nice guitar and some artwork on the wall. It just covered up a little bit of a gap I had in there. But now we're working on this sort of a plant room in here. Now this is where the money was spent. There is a lot of plants going in here, of different sort of types and for different kind of variations. So we do actually get some rose plants. I actually got them off of the gallery. You amazing people who do gameplay, thank you for this, because I do not have the time to grow prized roses. But you pulled it out for me, and you have actually uploaded some to the gallery, so I was able to use those. And when I was playtesting, I just came in and placed them in the planters that we have scattered around this room. But I figured this would be a really nice area to kind of come in, lots of plants, lots of different colours, lots of shades of green as well, which I thought was really worked in here. And we kind of went for a blue theme throughout this whole kind of build. So there's like a little hints of blue in the hallway, there's blue sofas and blue wallpaper in the living room, and then even down to the furniture in this sort of greenhouse room in here. And now we're moving over to the other side where we are going to work on the dining table and sort of dining area in here, which has got another fireplace because it's at the other end of the house in here. And I did originally really want that round table. It just was too big to fit in that little space, so we ended up changing it all out into here. But now getting in the bar, I felt why not have a nice little space in here just as a nice entertaining kind of space for somebody if you want to do dinner parties or anything like that. And also it's just a nice little place to kind of grab a drink at the end of the day in here as well, in this nice little bay window, which I really struggled to actually kind of fit anything in. We kind of get this one in here, and then I think we get a sofa from Cats and Dogs at the other end, like the triangle one. It really worked in there. It fitted in colour wise as well, worked perfectly in there. And I think obviously I do get curtains in, I come through and do those afterwards because trying to move those and get those in the right places was a little bit of a challenge. But now moving on to the kitchen, this is in kind of the little pop out on the other end. So at the other end we have the greenhouse, this one we have the sort of modern kitchen extension kind of thing. That's kind of why I was thinking that this was an add-on that they've kind of been very sympathetic to, and yeah, kind of pulled through how this all works in here. Now, I go through so many different colours of this kitchen. You might have noticed at the beginning it was pink. We have pink tiles on the floor. Now we have like blue, kind of, or very light blue, teal, and we have blue counters. They've now gone to white, and yeah, I went through and I really didn't know what I really wanted this sort of space to look like, but I think because I knew I wanted that modern kind of kitchen in here, I thought this would work really sort of nicely. And this is the new kitchen cabinet we actually got from the birthday update, which I thought I actually really like this kitchen. I wasn't really sure at the beginning. I think some of the colours are a little bit weird and a little bit off, but it's just a really nice simple kind of kitchen, and it fits kind of everywhere. But as I say, some of the swatches are a little bit unusable, I guess is probably the right word in here, but minimal clutter in here, which, yeah, as somebody who loves her clutter, I struggle with, but I figured there was plenty of space for your Sims to cook and kind of prepare their food and things like that as well. And then we have these nice blue, darker blue cabinets along the top. Now, this is the point where I realised I forgot to put any of the pet stuff in, and we have a dog in this house. So we have got the food bowls in here. I have placed 2 food bowls, one with the automated sort of dispenser and one that we're going to play pretend is a water bowl. Because why do our pets in game not need water? I don't know. But anyway, that's been an issue of mine from when Cats and Dogs came out. But now we're going to jump upstairs into the space, which is another hallway, but it's also kind of an office, kind of chill out space. I knew I wanted somebody, or the people that were going to live here was going to have a very professional job, whether that be a lawyer or a professor, as I said earlier on, or a teacher. I think I kind of settled on a lawyer for like maybe a prestigious law firm, or maybe for like the government or something like that, and that's why we have this sort of big artwork piece above it, as kind of maybe they've been there for so long and they've finally had a portrait drawn of them or something along those lines. Now, you might have noticed downstairs in the living room I tried to get in a piano, there just wasn't room, so I've managed to get it in up here. I felt like it was a perfect place for it, and it's one of those items where it's old but it can also be quite a modern piece that we can get in here as well. But now we're going to move over to the kids' bedroom. This I struggled with the bedrooms, I have to be honest, and Pinterest was definitely my friend for this. So I basically just went through and decided I'm going to do this bedroom at complete random, and I'm just going to fit in the family to match in here. So we kind of go for a light blue and kind of purpley kind of colours, and this bed and the kind of shelving that we've got behind it really works. These lights were a pain because they don't fit, but yeah, we use this as kind of like a storage kind of cubby, lots of bits and pieces, and maybe a bit more like a bedside table. We do actually get another one on the other side that I have had to move in the when I was playtesting this. It was just blocking the bed a little bit too much, so I just had to move it away slightly. I think because also the radiator's there, it had to be further out, and anyway, that was a big issue. Well, tiny little issue, but I have fixed that when it came to sort of playtesting and getting all of the screenshots and all of those that you'll see later on in here. But I knew I wanted this as a kid's bedroom, so I kind of didn't want to go for like a grown-up kind of teen room for here, but I kind of feel like they're kind of in that in-betweeny stage. They're kind of that tweeny, like they're a bit more grown-up of a kid, but we definitely get toys and other bits and pieces in as well. I'm trying to use some of the Pride items, and don't worry, we definitely do next door in the teen bedroom, but because I think they're all the new items, I'm like, oh, can I use this? Can I do this? And I wanted a wall hanging. That's what I wanted, because it was in the picture of the bedroom that I really was trying to recreate. As I say, this was a build where I just recreated other pictures from other people's kind of real life houses in here. So we do get the sort of the teddy bear doctor set and toy box. And I think we get something else. Yes, we get the little bear on the raft in here. I don't really know why it doesn't do anything. I don't even know why it doesn't do anything. Why that wasn't a actual toy would have worked a little bit better. But then we also get in a small little desk over here for like homework and stuff. I don't put a computer on this because I feel like if it is a kid, like they do like hand-based work, kind of homework, rather than sort of computer based. They don't need to necessarily research any of that, so I just get a few little bits and pieces, a little pen set and a little llama picture in here as well, and then get some more artwork pieces and stickers and stuff that I think will really work on here. So we managed to get in a couple of books, and there's another orangutan reading a book as well. I actually really like those pieces. They seem a bit weird, but they kind of can be quite useful in here. But now we're going to jump over into the teen bedroom. This I changed colour, so I really wanted to use this wallpaper with the sort of black and then the flowers on it, but I also wanted to use the Pride bed. Now, this point, I went through so many different versions of this bed in here, but we end up settling on this sort of purple and blue with those wing colours, and we kind of roll with it. So brace yourself, because this is a very vibrant bedroom in here, and I literally just kind of throw everything from the new Pride XDS drop into this bedroom. And this was actually a bedroom again taken from Pinterest, so this is another kind of mini recreation in here using lots of different items, but I love this sort of checkered kind of diamond pattern wallpaper. I don't think I've used it. I know it comes in a yellow swatch, but yeah, it came from Life Business and Hobbies, and I think I've used a couple of the pieces like wallpaper, but I've never used sort of this swatch, and I think it actually really works in here as a nice focal point on the back there, and then trying to get things in the same sort of colour scheme that I really wanted in here as a very bright kind of Pride bedroom in here. Now this wardrobe, again, I had to shuffle it around a few times to try and get it to work because of the bed. I end up smooshing it further along and then changing it on. Yeah, it gets moved in here, but then also I figured maybe they were like a live streamer or YouTuber or something and wanted a nice sort of big PC kind of in here with the gamer set from Little Simsy in here, and so we have this whole big sort of gaming setup in here as well, which I think this whole room is gorgeous and it all kind of works together and I've not really done anything kind of quite this extreme and very sort of focused for a while. So I love how this all works and all comes together in here. We do change all of the colours again to kind of match in, as I say, with the sort of colours of this room in here as well, and then lots of little details here and there, a few bits of clutter moving in. But now we're going to head over to the parents' bedroom. So with this parents' bedroom, I wanted to make it in keeping with the sort of downstairs and the rest of this house, so using the same sort of colour scheme with sort of the dark woods and then the hints of blue in here. We've kind of gone for a bit more of a navy kind of colour scheme, and yeah, with the fireplace and then this bed and then this sort of tunnel and groove sort of dark wooden bed in here. I just thought it was a really nice sort of bedroom, very calming, very sort of grown up, very relaxed sort of space, and I wanted some pendant lightings from here, so we use these big drop down ones from, I think, Lovestruck. I think they're the only kind of ones that we got from Lovestruck in that sort of style in there as well, and then just bring in a couple of plants and a few little knickknacks in here and clutter, just as a little private little space where they can come up and relax at the end of the day. And using this mirror as a bit more of an artwork piece, so this isn't actually usable, but it really creates a nice little sort of decoration on the sort of back wall there, and then some wardrobe space over here. Now I'm going to do something I don't normally do in a second, and we're going to head into the bathroom, because this house has 2 bathrooms upstairs and 1 downstairs, and I actually show you one of them in here as well. But we're gonna have a nice little seating area in here as well, just as a nice little space. Maybe they want some breakfast or something, or a nice little reading nook in there. But now this ensuite in here, I change the colour scheme a little bit more. We kind of go for a blue and or sort of a greeny kind of white colour scheme in here. This we change multiple times, so don't get attached to how this all works. But this is basically the sleek bathroom sort of bathroom. We actually use all of the bathrooms I think are used with this sort of kit in here, which I really like how this all sort of came together in here. And yeah, things get moved, so brace yourselves, because this is not how it all ends up, because I wanted to put things below the window, they don't fit, so we go back over here as well. But we are coming up to the end of this build, so if you have enjoyed it, then please give it a big thumbs up, and you can also subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on pretty much all social medias. My link tree is down in the description, so you can find me pretty much on all of them as well in there. But yeah, I will leave you all with the cinematic shots of this house, and as usual it is available on the gallery right now, so go and check that out. But until next time, stay happy and stay building. Bye everyone!